Approval of the minutes of the meeting. Someone make a motion to accept minutes of the meeting from November 8th, 2023, in the special meeting of November 14th, 2023.
Motion to accept the minutes from November 8th and November 14th.
Motion by Mr. Duncan, second by Larry Pace. Mr. Pace, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item, communications, superintendent's report.
Good afternoon,
Bill?
everybody.
Wasn't it, we have to approve the special meeting on the 14th?
Well, I said both dates.
Oh, both? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I said both dates, I'm sorry.
Hi, everybody. So, because we don't have, we didn't have a meeting last month, so the information that I normally provide is on this report, but I'm gonna just concentrate kind of on highlights instead of going through everything, point by point. There's just some things I want to draw your attention to. All in all, the treatment facility has been running very smoothly as far as process is concerned, despite our aging equipment and despite our massive flows. As you know, we've been getting a lot of rain, and this is wreaking havoc on a lot of our numbers. We received over 8 inches of rain in December, back-to-back weeks, and then we got another 4¼ inches of rain last night. We had crews at the plant all night long, around the clock, monitoring things. And it's really just one of these things where we've got to start honing in on our I&I issues. Having flows double our design parameters is not sustainable. We've been receiving flows in excess of 8 million gallons per day. As you know, our design is 4 million gallons, and we sustain that for weeks and weeks at a time. And it is just putting a lot of pressure on our equipment. Our pumps are running at 100% capacity. If the pump goes down during one of these situations, we're gonna have a major problem in town. So I just want to just put that at the forefront of everybody's mind while we go through some of these numbers here. And so in the first section, we talk about what's coming into the plant, and just to note, our influent solids, TSS, the influent total nitrogen, that's the TN, and the influent TKN, which is total Caldol nitrogen. Those 3 parameters are like very high compared to our design parameters, which you'll see in the rightmost column. Having that influent total suspended solids more than double our design is rough. It's tough to treat that at the plant. We cannot do a better job than what we're doing because we're above our design. And so keeping that in mind, go down to the second row in our loadings. This is what's coming into the plant in pounds per day. So it takes those milligrams per liter parameters from the first row, converts that because of our flows. Our flow rate is what helps determine this pounds per day number. You'll see that in November and December, that influent suspended solids, that's more than double our design in pounds per day. We're running all that through all of our pumps and all of our equipment, and it's just too much. And same thing with our nitrogen removal. We're just way over our design. So we talk a lot about our flows as far as our dry weather flows are roughly 2.5 million gallons per day. And that seems like, well, we could run that way forever. 2.5 million gallons per day is easy to do for us. But when we're running at 8 million gallons per day, we end up with all of this, all these solids and all this BOD and all this nitrogen, and it's just really almost impossible to get rid of it all. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about the design of the plant and if we have enough capacity for future development. We may in some ways, but not in others. So we need to really look at that very closely. And it's getting worse and worse. So just want you to keep that in mind. And now, as far as compliance, in November, we had some equipment malfunctions that we had our waste pumps actually just stop wasting. And there were all kinds of issues that we tried to deal with. Our waste pumps really need some work in the way that it was designed. There's another scum removal process that was put into place. We spent, I don't even know how much money. You know how much that scum removal process cost us? Initially?
It was over 100,000.
Yeah, it was over $100,000 to put our scum removal process into play, and it was never really utilized, and it just degraded. And so I had the crew rebuild the whole scum removal process, and we come to find out after rebuilding it that it causes a problem with our waste pumps, and it just causes them to stop pumping. They go airbound and they don't pump. And because we ran into this airbound situation, we did have high BOD and high suspended solids over our permit limit in November. We've since rectified the situation. We're not running the scum removal process anymore. It's just not feasible to risk not being able to waste. Not wasting is a terrible thing for us, especially when we went through several cycles before anybody realized it. You know, we had gone through a weekend and it was just not, you know, by all accounts, it looked like the pumps were running. And then when you actually went down into the vault and listened to them and looked at them, you could see that they were not actually pumping anything. Other than that, the last row, we're looking at the nitrogen that's coming out of the plant going to the river. We've been doing a fairly good job. Our limit is 106. And despite our high flows, we've been keeping under that 106 pounds per day. You see that green row there, but in December with the over 8 inches of rain in 2 weeks, it's just impossible. That flow rate played into the calculation to figure out your pounds per day. So while we kept our milligrams per liter below our design specs for nitrogen, we kept it at 4.1. We multiplied that by a flow of nearly 8 million gallons, it puts us over our permit limit. So again, you can see how that I&I is really wreaking havoc with our permit numbers as well. Now, you know, whenever we go over 106 pounds, we'll end up having to pay into the credit trading program at the end of the year. So another thing to keep in mind, our sludge, we have so much sludge. As we know, we were over budget last year for sludge removal. It is something that we cannot control. What comes into the plant comes in as solid and liquid. We treat the liquid, and the solids is a completely different process where we de-water that on a rotary drum thickener, and then the end product ends up getting trucked out. And as we all know, the trucking costs were extremely high last year. They're going to be high again. There's nothing we can do. What comes in comes in. There's no way to mitigate that or stop that at this point. But one thing I also want to keep in mind is that we are really taxing our rotary drum thickener. It is an old piece of equipment that is being run 7 days a week. It's being run up to 16 hours a day. We really need to worry about our sludge and solids handling in the future, in the very near future. If that goes down, we're in trouble. So just another thing, all these little things that I'm noticing since I started here that should be addressed. So that's just another thing, but we're still doing a great job for right now, barring no mechanical problems. Any questions on that before I move on?
Are these like, for an aging facility, are these standard things that we can maintain and operate as normal, or like you saying, hey, we have an issue?
So there's nothing wrong with our rotary drum thickener at this time, other than it is old and
Okay.
we are limping it along, and it really needs to be upgraded. There's better technology out there, there's more efficient technology out there. There are ways we can reduce. So right now, and I'm talking a little technically here, but we reduce from a very watery liquid. Our sludge is not as solid as you might think. It's still pretty watery, and we have to remove as much of that water as possible. We get down to 3% solids, which is an arbitrary number probably for most of you, but there are pieces of equipment out there that can get us up to 20% solids. So we remove a lot more water. Hauling water is a waste. It's a waste of money. It's not efficient. And we're paying for that truck after truck every day. We get upwards of 4, 8, 12 trucks a week. We had 6 trucks just today. So if we can eliminate a lot of water portion of that with updated equipment, we can eliminate a lot more of our trucking costs. So it would behoove us to look into something, one, because the RDT is not going to last forever. What is the vintage of that? 2006. I mean, that is past its life. And also there's just better technology, less trucks, save a ton of money. So I think that's, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that, when we get into like our needs later, but just one of our highest priorities is our solids handling. We've gotta update that. Second page here just goes into our staffing. Nothing's changed staff-wise since the last couple of months. We haven't had any safety incidents. Our chemical consumables are pretty standard, nothing new. Actually, there is one thing new. We are adding psychrophilic microorganisms. This is for low temperature conditions. One of the major parameters for removing nitrogen is having the proper temperature. If we get too low of a temperature, the bugs just don't do their thing. They just cannot remove nitrogen. And as many of you may know, our facility has all of its tanks built above ground, up into the air, which is not a standard thing. It is kind of odd that we have that, and very susceptible to temperature differences. So as soon as the ambient air gets cooler, the water in those tanks drops right down, and that affects our bugs. If those tanks had been in the ground would have kind of insulated the water a little bit more and the microorganisms, and this wouldn't be an issue. But it's what we have. So the psychrophilic microorganisms, I know that they've been used in other places and even at our facility long time ago. So we're bringing those back and we're seeing if that'll work out. So that's the only new chemical consumable. No noise complaints, no odor complaints. And then I just, at the bottom here, our storm update, I've already touched upon this, you know, that we had 8.4 inches of rain in the month of December. That does not include what we, you know, yesterday's 4.25 inches of rain. So, you know, our flows are up over our 4 million gallons, and they stayed that way, sustained over our design for weeks. And we just about came down over below the 4 million gallon design, and we got hit with this storm last night, and now we're almost 9 million gallons as we speak. So, and then page 3. This is just our pump stations. Everything at the pump stations, as far as grease is concerned, in November we removed a decent amount of grease. In December there was nothing to remove. The flows were so high that it just pushed all the grease right to the plant. We went right through all the pump stations and we captured as much as we could at the plant. So nothing to report there. Maintenance, there's a list here of a bunch of maintenance items. One thing is that our pumps at our pump stations are experiencing some issues, and we've had check valves that have gone bad that the crew has replaced and saved a ton of money. In the past, we had a company come out, New England Pump and Valve. They would come out and replace a check valve. And with our new chief mechanic and a crew of a couple new guys that are very mechanically inclined, I thought there's no way that they can't do this job. They absolutely have the capacity and the skills to change check valves out. So they did. They diagnosed the issue. They realized what the problem was. We ordered the check valve. They pulled the old ones out, put the new ones in. Life is good. That was at Meadowlark pump station. So actually both checks were bad there. So we're going to see an improvement in that pump station. And we did a little secondary spill containment setup at the plant. There's, you know, we do have a lot of chemicals, and we never had secondary containment, and that's mandated by DEP. You can't have like sodium hydroxide just leak into like a nearby manhole or something like that. So you have to have secondary containment for safety. And we just instituted that, set it up really nicely, worked out great. We did have the auger go on our bar screen, and that's another thing we would have shipped out to have another company come in and either replace it on site, fix it on site, or send it out for repair. And our guys did it. The crew did it no problem. They replaced the auger, the flange, the gearbox, and we saved a ton of money there doing it ourselves. So these guys are really doing a great job for the city, and I commend them for stepping up and doing all this stuff. And we did drain all of the sodium hypochlorite from that 5,400 gallon tote, the one that is leaking, that we are getting replaced. What was in there has been drained out for the winter into smaller totes that we have stored indoors in a heated environment, so it doesn't freeze and cause problems. We're just waiting on the new tank, and we'll get a crane in, take that old tank out of there, put the new tank in, do up all the plumbing, and that should be good to go. We have all of the plumbing fittings and everything ordered up for this project, so we're just basically waiting on the tank.
What's the status on the tank?
We're about 5 weeks out, I think. Yep, so as long as that gets there on time, we've got no problem. We got the crane guy set up already. He's basically on standby. We just give him a day or two notice, and they'll be out, no problem. And then, so for future work, we're still kind of in limbo with that whole air issue with the blowers. I don't know where we stand on that. It might be something for us to discuss with Weston and Sampson. That was proposed to find a way to correct that, and we just have to follow up. We have to figure out how to get going on that. The pump station controls upgrades, those are ongoing with Aaron Associates, Bridgeport Avenue and Beard Saw Mill. We were looking at our audit report from the DEP, just to make sure that we've hit all the points on our audit report back from, I think that was in April. And one of the things that we were dinged on were the motive pumps. They leak all over the place. The vault is like, it's got inches and inches of water in it. At any given time, it can have up to 6 inches of like sludge and water because these things leak so badly. And we've tightened the packing on them, and we've done all we can from our perspective. And now we either have to have some replacement of packing or replacements of mixers. We'd have to call on a company for that. Those are big time projects. And then it came to my attention that, hey, you know what? We don't have to use motive pumps to mix. We can use mixers to mix. And there is a company out there that can do a study and can go after some grant money for us, and might be able to just eliminate those motive pumps down in that vault and put in mixers that are super efficient, easy to work on, easy to maintain. And with the grant money, that might be something for us to look into, is to replace those motor pumps. We do have a facility plan ongoing with Fuss and O'Neill. I don't have an update on that. I have not heard from anybody on that recently, but I'm sure maybe Mike or Bill could speak to that. Solids and sludge handling, we already discussed this, doing an upgrade, a study to upgrade that possibly to either a Fournier press or a belt filter press or something else. There's other technology, so we'll look into doing a study and get grant money for that as well. That's something I want to work with, I guess, Weston and Sampson or whoever our on-call engineers these days. New roof. This is something that ended up on our needs matrix at one point, and it kind of fell by the wayside, but I walked into a guy sitting at his desk the other day, one of our guys with a wet ceiling tile, like in his lap and all over his laptop. I mean, our roof is leaking so badly in so many places now. I don't think we can possibly push this off any longer. We need a new roof. That's another thing. And I wrote in here the needs matrix. We had this needs matrix from Weston Sampson. The last copy I can find is from February 2023. It's from before I got here. I don't know if anybody has an updated copy, but I think it's something we really should continue to look at. Going
Matt's
forward.
got an updated copy.
He does? Okay, I have not gotten that. And then,
Well,
just.
that was on the
future-
meeting minutes last month. He's supposed to provide us with one.
He did?
Matt, are you on?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You have the needs matrix that we talked about last month?
Yeah, let me pull up a copy here and then we can talk off of it. Sorry to interrupt you, Danielle.
No, it's fine, Matt. I'm glad that you have it because I think it's a good idea for us to keep working off of it, and I just wanted to bring that back to the table. And the last thing here, we're gonna do some tank cleaning, in the beginning of the spring. The tanks have not been cleaned, some of them since like 2018, 2019, they're well overdue. So we're going to, start tackling that. And the last page is just our overtime, not anything, more than usual. It's about average for overtime. And that concludes my report.
Matt,
I know there's
I
a
don't know
lot,
how you
sorry.
bring, I don't know how you bring this up, Matt.
The needs matrix, you meant?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Give me a second here. Yeah, the most recent one I have is October 2023.
Yeah, you were supposed to have an updated one for this meeting. Is that the last updated one we have?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to review that one.
No, it's loading.
Can you make that into a PDF and email it to everybody?
Yeah, I can do that.
Just quickly, can you go through with I know we put priorities on them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can you just go over it real quick?
Sure. Let me okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay. So basically the priority ranking of 1, it sounds like it's this one's completed was the electrical conduit repair between the auxiliary blower building and the sludge processing building, the basement in there. I don't think we've had any more groundwater leaking into that conduit since we put the drain in there. But the priority ranking, that's number 1 that we are working on, was the chlorine chemical storage, which is ongoing. I don't need to get into too much more with that one. Then the next one would be replace the aeration supply piping, which is the piping that provides the air from the turbo blowers out to the SBR tanks, because we're leaking about 50% of the air into the ground instead of the tank. And then as part of that project, providing some conduit to replace the signal wiring between the SBR tanks and the sludge building, because we found that the insulation was in pretty poor shape of that wiring going back a few years ago. And then those were really the high priority rankings. And then going down to like priority 2, which are also really important, would be that the Headworks bar screen is kind of at the end of its service life. And they've been having a problem with that about probably about once a year or so, having to rebuild part of it.
Yeah,
The
that's
sludge
right.
storage. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. That's correct.
Yeah, then the sludge storage tank, the brick veneer needs to be repaired on part of the tank because it's been popping off for a long time. I think the metal clips that hold it to the structures corroded away. We have a sludge processing study, which kind of goes into what Danielle was talking about, which was to look at increasing the sludge processing capacity, but then also looking at the equipment that they have and the costs for disposal. And that might go to a thicker sludge, so you're pumping out, you're trucking out less water. We have a bunch of things for building maintenance, such as we still have to refurbish the locker rooms, replace the roof on 3 buildings, address humidity control in the downstairs of the admin building. There's some abandoned process piping and equipment down there we can get rid of, some repainting, and then some storage area functions need to be improved. Those are, once we get past that list, we're kind of getting into some longer term stuff, such as pump station evaluations, looking at the scum systems for the chlorine contact tank. A new one was the sludge pumps in the SBR tanks, switching those to a different type of pump so that way they don't get airbound from air in the downstream piping. And then that's it. That's what we have for the treatment plant.
Okay, so let's take this a step at a time. Matt, that's going to be update it when we have this special meeting.
Yep.
So following up on Danielle's. So on December 15th, Danielle sent out a report and about all these things that she's talking about right now on December 15th. And there's there's 4 or 5 paragraphs discussing everything that she's talking about here. So I replied on the same day, probably an hour later, something like that, half an hour later. Danielle, awesome job on your report. I'm impressed, and I talked about all this stuff. These are kind of documents required to further understand our needs at the plant, including our priority list. This also plays into our upcoming budget for 2024-25. As I discussed, I'd like to have a special meeting. Now, Danielle and I have been talking on the phone, and I've gone to the plant several times trying to go over and get a grasp of all these things. On the 18th, I said, guys, I sent an email out to everybody. Now, you guys, nobody was copied on this email from Danielle, so I forwarded it after talking to Danielle a couple of days. So I'm just going to ask any of these further reports, you just include everybody in the board, okay? So they get all these reports. These are awesome reports. They are just like chock full of good information. On the 18th, I sent an email to everybody. I said, guys, I see the board members not been copied on Daniel's latest email. Please see the reports that are attached. Now, I asked that everybody reply that I want to have a special meeting, and it's critical to have a special meeting. Nobody replied except for Larry. Larry called me and says, Mike, I can make the meeting anytime. So if you're not interested in having a special meeting, then because nobody replied, that's fine. I'm going to have a special meeting by myself or with Larry, the one that replied. So if you guys don't think it's critical, then that's okay, but I do. So I was recommending a special meeting on January 15th, I think, and everybody got this email. On January 15th, preferably towards the end of the day at 3 o'clock. I'm going to still hold to that, the 15th, which is basically, what is that's next week, I guess, the 15th, right? If the 15th doesn't work, then we're going to find a date. But I'm going to tell you is I'm finding a date that suits me. And if it doesn't suit anybody else, then I can't do anything about that. And preferably after 3 o'clock. So what time suits everybody to have a special meeting? Because on this, and I copied everybody and forwarded Danielle's email along with the reports. I attached the reports. What is everybody's idea for a special meeting? Preferably next week. If we can't do next week, let's try to do the following week.
I could do the following week. Monday is a holiday.
Monday's a holiday.
What does that have to do with anything? You don't work?
I'm not.
You're retired.
Well,
I'm
I-
joking. I'm joking. I'm not, is Monday the 15th that I put that on?
Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay. So that date wouldn't work. Okay, that's fine. So I didn't realize that was the 15th. It was a Monday. And I forgot the town hall's closed. You're right. Okay. So if next week doesn't work, what day does anybody want to try to do it on next week?
Should we plan for a Tuesday or Wednesday evening or afternoon?
Wednesday, probably at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock works? What do you mean? You're the one who responded and said yes.
I can't do Wednesday.
This Thursday, let's put a couple dates out there.
Tuesday or Thursday is good. Following Monday.
How about Thursday, the 18th at 3 o'clock? Does that work?
3 o'clock's not good.
Huh?
3 o'clock's not good for me. I'd rather do it in the morning or 4:30.
Well, I can't
Tough
do
for me.
mornings. I go to Stanford every day.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
What about morning? Sunday we had a.
I
morning-
go to Stanford every
Okay.
day. I'm not being selfish for me. Nobody replied to the email. So now I'm going to be selfish for me. I understand it. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it.
So just pick a date then, a time, and if we can make it. we can make
18th
it.
at 4. Let's do 4 o'clock. Does 4 o'clock work?
Better than 3.
Okay, let's do the 18th at 4 o'clock. Does that work for everybody?
I won't be able to make it.
I'll be out of town.
You neither?
I'll be out of town.
Well-
Was the 16th bad for everybody, the Tuesday?
I can't do the
Oh, you
16th.
can't.
Nope. 17th or 18th. I know Fridays are probably don't work for anybody. Does anybody want to do anything Fridays? No, I didn't think so. All right,
Monday's all right, the 22nd, 22nd.
but City Hall's closed.
No, the following.
Monday.
But City Hall's closed though.
No,
right?
no, the following.
I understand that, but City Hall itself is closed,
No,
right?
no. The City Hall is open. The reason why it's closed Monday is because of Martin Luther King's national holiday. But on
I always
Monday,
thought that every Monday
No,
the city's closed.
the bottom floor is all open. Town floor.
Oh, okay. All right. So I didn't, that's my mistake. I understood that City Hall is always closed on Mondays. That's why I never tried calling these guys on Mondays.
We're not here on Mondays, but the bottom floor is. Town clerk,
Okay, so
collector.
you
can
want to
call
do
me
that?
a bill on Monday.
Yeah,
Well, I do.
I'm on my phone on Monday.
How about Monday, the 22nd at 4 o'clock?
Okay.
Do we have a consensus on that date? I'm bending for all you guys. I understand that. I want to make it work for everybody.
That works for me.
122. 120, what Eugene?
I'm saying that works for me.
122-24, wow, at 4 o'clock PM. And let's get 104, okay? Then, Ash, thank you.
Not here, room
Yes,
one.
across, across the hall. It's small. We don't need this big table. So what I would like to do at that meeting is we're going to discuss all of Danielle's needs. Now, beware, this might be a 2-hour meeting, so I think Bill is going to have to bring us lunch or dinner, I mean. So we're going to talk about Danielle's needs. Did everybody's, if you don't go back and read some of Danielle, obviously it's Danielle's thing here, but her reports that I forwarded to everybody as attachments, which are really awesome reports. I mean, this really gives us a heads up. And because we've got issues going on here. Danielle pretty much said it in a nutshell that, we're getting by on a crutch right now. We're getting by on a crutch. Hydraulically is an easier answer. I don't want to say easier answer. We can manage hydraulically, but the demand on the plant as far as all of this other stuff that's going, the biological side of it is where we're struggling. And DEP has taken note of it.
Yes,
So-
and one of the things that they mentioned back in the summer, going back to one of our summer meetings, they want to see capital improvement projects on the
Right.
schedule for the year. And it's been several years since we've done a major project. I think the
Right.
last one was probably the boilers, which was 2018. So we've been at least 5 years without a major improvement project at the plant. So we really need to get some of that stuff on the schedule, go after grant money if we can. Matt would be able to assist us with that, right, Matt?
Yeah,
Okay,
we have to get on the priority funding list for that, but
So
that's not hard.
sorry, Matt, go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm just saying if, once we know, we package together a reasonably sized project that makes going after the funding worthwhile, then we submit for the priority list to get on to basically be approved for funding.
Okay. So here, there's gonna, I'm writing, so give me 1 second. So what we're gonna do at this meeting, and if you guys want to break it up, I prefer to do it at one shot, but I got a feeling we're gonna have a couple of meetings. That's why I'm trying to at least have this a kickoff at this meeting. I'm gonna call it a kickoff meeting for the first thing we're gonna, and actually, if you can take this, the first thing we're gonna talk about is plant upgrades, needs matrix. Second thing we're gonna talk about that rolls right into it is 24-25 budget, because this is we're gonna have to figure out what if any of this goes into the budget, or does this come out of our capital spending fund? And then the third thing I want to talk about is the facilities plant, the facilities plant upgrade with Fuss and O'Neill. I'll let you know where we are on that. I finalized it with Virgil. yesterday, and he sent me all the revised documents. I didn't like the way he laid the documents out because he just gave us a bottom line number and I wasn't satisfied with the bottom line number. I need more breakdown because I said, give it to me how DEP is going to require you to submit it. So that's what he did. So, okay, I'll give you the one that DEEP's going to require. So he took a little bit more time, but so we're all settled with that. Those are the three items I want to try to cover. My guess is we're not going to get final answers on all three of these items. The plant facilities, the facilities plan is probably going to be the easiest one, just to let you know. And I'll send you the documents from Fuss and O'Neill that he sent to me. But item one, the plan upgrades, the needs metric and the budget are going to be the two critical ones that we should try to take care of. If we can't do the facilities plan discussion, then that's fine. We can, but that needs to get approved by you guys, by us. So with this week, so we can get the contract and pass this thing on. Any comments about with Danielle and about the needs matrix and the budget that we're going to try to get started on early? We have to get started on early because there's a lot to talk about.
You just took the words out of my mouth. That's so having this meeting and getting a better understanding of our needs about, how we're gonna go about getting funding for that is definitely the first step in trying to figure out our next budget. So the earlier we have this meeting and the earlier we talk about our budget needs, the better prepared we'll be to actually come up with a good budget plan.
Right. So Matt, I would recommend that you be at this meeting, please.
Okay,
And
yeah, I
then
put that on my
bring that-
calendar with a note to 10.
Yep, because you're gonna need that needs matrix, and you're gonna have to put some blank lines in there because we're gonna have to add stuff or deduct or get, scratch stuff and move it down to number 4. Obviously the roof is probably number 4, but now the roof is moving up to number 1. So, which is okay. That's how these things work. So have that updated needs matrix. If you got to talk to Garrett and Danielle in the meantime, before this meeting, go ahead, be my guest, and you can kind of update it as a draft, put draft copy on the top of it. So we know that it's a draft. It's not final.
Okay.
All right. Anything else from Danielle or Garrett on these lengthy items here? Thank you, Danielle. Nice job on your report. I like these reports a lot.
Thank you.
Danielle,
Yes.
when was the last time there was a roof? I mean, how old was that roof?
2006.
Huh?
2006.
We didn't do that during the plan upgrade.
2006.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
I forget it's that far. I forget it's that long ago. It feels like just yesterday.
But we've got buckets everywhere every time it rains. It's getting to be a little.
That should be a
crazy.
20-year roof. What's 2006? It
I
should
know,
be.
it's not even 20
It
years.
should be a 20-year roof.
30 even sometimes.
Yeah. It's pretty bad though. And it's over equipment too. Like we just purchased a brand new laptop for the chief mechanic a few months ago. And here's the ceiling tile like falling on top of his lap. Thank God it was closed. But I said, okay, enough's enough.
All right. Anything else for Danielle on 4A?
And just one thing, Matt, Mike brought up a good point that you, Garrett, and myself, if we could get together and just have a quick meeting before the meeting, just so we could come up with a little pre-draft plan.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. You know, it was one of the.
I know no further discussion with these guys. We're going to move on to the 4B budget worksheet.
We have to have our budget numbers in.
We have May, yeah. That's why we're starting early, because we're going to probably have a couple of these meetings going forward. I don't, it's hard to look at this thing anymore. But at some point, let's see, May in March, I think we usually start it in March, if I remember. So by March, right, Garrett?
Yep.
So by March, we should start, seeing what balances, what current balances we have here. And, I think, like Danielle said, Danielle and I had a pretty lengthy discussion about sludge. And just that we're not even keeping up with our sludge budget, and it's difficult. And the best way to do it is Danielle has stated that, you know what, it's time to put some money in there because we budgeted 425,000 last year. You know, I know this isn't up to date, there's a balance, but it's only 58%, but I'll guarantee you by the time we get to March or April, we're gonna be out of money. So that's why this year's gonna be an important year for a lot of things, for the budget and for the plant needs and trying to figure out where we're gonna get, how we're gonna get money. Hey, Matt, can you also be prepared? Are you on still?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you also be prepared for that meeting to let us know what kind of grants and funding there is from DEEP?
Yeah, the biggest thing I ran into with Deep is that to unlock the funding for projects like this is that they want facility planning done, which you're going through that at the same time, but we might have to put like a small 2 or 3 page memo together and set it ahead of time that says, hey, the sludge system is antiquated and we need to replace it, and here's 10 bullets why. And so they can kind of sign off on it to say it's proof for funding.
Okay. All right, so let's just be prepared to have that kind of discussion too.
Yep.
Anything on the budget worksheet 4B? 4C. There's 4 people with terms expiring that expired December 13th, 2023. Myself, Michael Duncan, Donald Ramia, and Steve Chukta. Don, do you want to stay on the board?
Yeah.
Michael Duncan, do you want to stay on the board?
Yes.
Steve, do you want to stay on the board? Okay, so up for is chairmanship. So every year I have to ask the question, does anybody want to assume the role of chairmanship? And I'm going to ask it 3 times and then we're going to close it for a vote. Does anybody want to assume the chairmanship? Second time, does anybody want to assume the chairmanship? Third time and final, does anybody want to assume the chairmanship? All right, I don't want to say unfortunately for me, but take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? We have 1 aye. Does that mean everybody else is a no? Mr. Duncan?
What?
It's a simple yes or no. Do you want me to be the chairman?
I'd like to abstain.
Mr. Schuckman?
I'm just gonna mention that Don Ramey is interested in the chairmanship. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Okay,
Don's interested in chairman.
okay.
That's,
So we got 2, let's finish then if that's the case. If Don, if you're interested in the chairmanship, and there's 2 of us, so
Has
let's,
to be nominated and seconded, though.
excuse me?
We have to be nominated and seconded. You just can't say you want it.
Right,
Yeah, you asked if somebody was interested. You didn't ask for. a
is
motion.
somebody interested? Yes.
So I'll make a motion to nominate Tom.
Okay, all in favor? I oppose.
Aye.
Drum roll, please. How many yeses,
I don't know.
So.
how many yeses for Don and Ramian?
I vote for Don.
1 yes, Mr. Steve? Don? Bill?
Done.
Larry?
He voted for you.
Okay, so Mr. Ramey has got 3 votes. Any votes? Let's go around. So we have 3 for Mr. Ramian.
I'd like to
Myself?
nominate Mr. Remia as well. Sorry, I was on mute.
Who?
This is Eugene. I'd like to nominate Mr. Remia as well, or vote for Mr. Remia.
Okay. All in favor for 3? Any votes for me?
1.
1? Okay. Mr. Ramey gets it. All in favor of Mr. Ramey being chairman? Vote aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You guys have a nice night. Don't need me anymore.
Mike, you forgot your jacket.
Mike,
Bill? There's nothing to do with, vice chairman too, right? This is,
I have no idea. No, because the only four.
well, there is a vice chairman. That's you, right?
Right.
I checked, Bill, she said you were nominated, appointed, sorry. She had. it.
Is there are there other officers besides the chair and vice chair?
That's what they,
Not that I know.
No, that was not even a vice chair. He's good till 25.
as vice chair or as a member?
As I don't know. I don't know how that goes, Bill.
Neither do I. That's
Yeah, I
why-
wouldn't know, but she
Should we
said
take a vote?
you were appointed.
Vice chair wasn't, there wasn't an election for that. It was just.
No,
appointment,
just
right?
chairman.
Okay.
Just
The
chairman.
vice chair had nothing to do with it.
Okay, so it's just a chair.
So it stays. I thank you very much for your, vote. To complete the, agenda for the evening, I don't have any, formal, paperwork, I know, other than what's in front of us for the equipment review. Danielle, is that anything different?
So I think we pretty much covered all
That's what I
that.
thought.
Yep, so, let's just say that that's pretty much
Thank you.
done. Yep.
Old business, anybody have anything for old business? Having no old business, we'll move on. New business, Weston and Sampson invoice for $20,052.20. Discussion on that, Bill?
I have a few questions on it and I just going roughly through the computation. Well, it's very difficult for me to I have the hours, but to actually see what the hours produced, I never got a set of the drawings.
Right.
And I think it behooves that I think everybody should get a set of the drawings, get a copy of the bill again. And then I think it's a little bit easier for me to make my evaluation.
I can have her come in as well. If we're gonna, let's say, still do the special meeting, have him come in. Let him explain it. Or, I don't know if you're still here, Matt.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You know what I'm
So-
saying? I don't know if you wanna come in and explain it on that day, that's fine, or either
It would
way.
be- It would probably be easier. Basically, 4,500 of it was kind of the regular WPCA support. And then the remaining balance of that was probably about 15,000 was to design the plans set for the bidding of the chlorine storage tank replacement and the piping that goes along with it. I think we turned that around in about 3 weeks.
So we're gonna discuss that on the 22nd at 4 o'clock.
We could, sure, and I could bring the set of plans and you guys can look through it.
Well, Matt, I'd appreciate if I can get them ahead of time,
Oh, yeah, certainly.
you know. Cause I've never been able to, I haven't seen what, Weston Sampson produced for the purchasing department. So it's kind of tough to really make an evaluation without.
Yeah, we did plans and specs. I think we ended up bidding out just the plan set. And then, but then now everyone's gonna be just building it using the town staff without bidding. So, but yeah, I'll send it over to Ashley and then, she can distribute it to the commission.
Okay,
That's good.
So a motion to table that to, 20,052.20 for another month.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Bill,
Second,
second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vote so ordered. The second one, excuse me, Weston and Sampson invoice for $3,533.56. I don't see that one. I'll look at this up quickly. There it is, the invoice. Of the Lane Yankees Landing project.
Make a motion that, the invoice for Weston and Sampson in the amount of $3,533.56 be paid.
I second it. I second it.
Seconded by Mr. Gupta. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Vote so ordered. Thank you. Financial statements? Anybody? Who does that one?
Financials?
Yeah, you?
Well, no, that's done out of, the accounting department.
So because I don't have a copy of it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I don't have it.
You don't have that?
Good.
It's only a single sheet.
Thank you. Any question or discussion on that? No question or discussion?
No.
Okay. Need a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Moved by Bill, second by Mr. Pace. When, get your motion ready? Thank you very